Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. Today's recipe is all about how to take lemons and make lemonade. So I bought this little sirloin tip roast back in January, and I'm filming this in the middle of August, so that was a while ago. Here's what happened. Bought this roast, had a plan for it. Life throws us a curveball. Julie and I have to get on a plane and head out of town. What are we going to do with the roast? We throw it into the freezer. That was at the end of January. We come back to Toronto, and that's when COVID threw a wrench in everybody's plan. I don't need the roast right away, so I'm going to stick it back in the fridge. So there's a wrench thrown in the plan. COVID, life changes, everything goes crazy, and I forgot about the roast. Then I realized the roast was still down there. It's not quite freezer burnt yet, but it needs a little bit of help. So I'm going to turn it into deli luncheon meat. I'm going to brine it to bring it back a little bit. And so we're going to make the brine today. And I've got 2 liters of water, and I'm going to put about 1 liter of water into this pot. Now I've got the pot on medium-high heat. We want to bring it to a boil, and to that I'm going to add salt. So here's the thing. For a brine, the only thing you really need to remember is the relationship between salt and water, the ratio of salt to water. And generally accepted in the cooking community, the chef community, the perfect brine is 20 to 1. 20 parts water to 1 part salt by weight. Or the weight of the salt should be 5% of the weight of the water. And since I'm metric, I've got 2 liters of water, even though I only put 1 liter in here just yet. I've got 2 liters of water. 2 liters of water equals 2 kilograms of weight, because it's 1 to 1, pretty much. And 5% of 2 kilos is 100 grams. And if you deal in that other crazy measurement system, you still do it by weight. The ratio is still the same, but your amounts will be a little bit different. That's all you need to know. And a great book to learn these ratios, because every baking and most cooking recipes distill back to a ratio, is get yourself Michael Ruhlman's book called Ratio. And in that are almost all of the ratios. And once you know those ratios, you can make any recipe you want, and you can scale the recipes really easily. So now that I've got the brine, and this brine will make something that is salty enough but not too salty, which is often a problem that I see with brines where they get the ratio wrong. Far too salty for me. Now comes the flavorings, and you can use any flavorings that you like, but today here's what I'm going to use. Sugar, brown sugar specifically, cracked black pepper, bay leaves, red pepper flakes, onion powder, and garlic powder. And those flavorings are completely up to you. You could do anything you want. Once you get the salt-water ratio, it's all fair game. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil, just to make sure that I dissolve all of the salt and the sugar into the water. Okay, everything's fully dissolved, so I'm going to pour the hot liquid back into what's left in this jug to bring us back up to 2 liters. Now I'm going to let this cool down to room temperature, then I'm going to stick it in the fridge to let it chill completely before we move on to the next step. Now the thing about a brine for me is that I often make too much or too little, and today I've made too much, but it's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to give this a stir, and I'm going to scoop what I need to use into this bag where the roast is, into a Ziploc bag. The brine that's left over that I don't use, I'm going to put that into a mason jar and stick it in the fridge, and I'll be able to use that a couple weeks from now on another project. And at this point, the brine liquid is infused with all of those herbs and spices. The flavor is all through the liquid. So just enough liquid in there to cover the roast. And we'll zip this up, squeeze out as much air as possible. And I'm going to stick this in the fridge overnight. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, this has been overnight in the fridge. So I'm going to pull the roast out of the brine. And doesn't that just look delicious? I'm going to get rid of this bag of brine. Okay, so I've got a brine hand, and I've got a clean hand. And I just want to sprinkle some coarse black cracked pepper over top while the roast is still wet. And I'm going to leave this on. I'm going to put it onto a rack and back into the fridge for 3 or 4 hours just to build up that pellicle on the outside. And this pepper is pretty coarse. I've got the Yoder smoker set up today with oak, and we're running at about 275 degrees Fahrenheit. I want to cook this fairly slowly. I've got a meter thermometer inside so that I can cook by temperature, and I really only want to take this to rare, medium rare. This is a piece of meat without a lot of fat marbling, and if you cook it too far, it could get very tough. So I'm going to let this go, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we have reached a rare, medium rare temperature, internal temperature. So I'm going to pull this off. Now, I'm not going to cut it up today. I'm going to stick this in the fridge overnight, let it chill completely, and then tomorrow we're going to put this on the deli slicer and make some amazing roast beef sandwiches. I got a new toy. I finally got a meat slicer. This is something I've wanted for a while, and at the same time it's something I've resisted for a while because I wasn't sure if I needed one. But now I kind of feel like I think I need one. So let's try it and see what happens. Ooh, it's quiet. Ooh, that looks so good. And it's so thin. Mm-hmm. The flavor's right on. This is going to make the best sandwich. Hey, Jules.
Hey, Glen. Hey, friends.
Deli roast beef.
Wow. To go with so many other great things.
So many other great things. Our homemade mustard, our table pickle,
I have table pickle.
and the pickled red onions. Great on a sandwich. So this is, this stuff is so good. Mmm. Slightly smoky. That peppery. I saved it with the brine, so it's nice and moist. And then, you know, slicing it thin certainly helps. Certainly helps, slicing it thin.
Now, you did this with what type of roast?
It was a sirloin tip.
So can you do anything?
Well,
Like, can you...
sirloin tips are really lean roast. Like, you can see there's hardly any fat in there. And it's one of those roasts that if you cook it incorrectly, it could be very dry and the texture's not very good. So I
you
cooked
want
it.
jalapeno on yours?
Yeah, please. So I cooked it to like a medium rare, medium rare, and slice it really thin, and it just tastes amazing. Because it's got great flavor, it can just be a little bit tough. Okay, pickle.
Okay, so that should be enough. There we go.
Okay, a little bit of lettuce. Oh, there we go. So there you go, Jules.
Thank you.
A few days in the making, well worth it, and it's a great way to take a fairly inexpensive roast of beef and extend it for sandwiches for a couple of weeks. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.